Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pagani Design PD-1692. This watch is available from Pagani Design all factory store on AliExpress. The AliExpress summer sale starts on Monday the 27th of June. The price of this watch during the sale will be €117. You can also purchase the watch from Pagani Design store on Amazon.de for €140, and you can also purchase it from Pagani Design store on Amazon.com for $136. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in this familiar black cardboard watch box. As you can see, the watch sits on a piece of foam inside a foam cutout panel in the base, as one would expect. Although basic, it does suffice in protecting the watch in shipping, and I think it's perfectly acceptable to use this basic style of watch box, bearing in mind it's a low tier price point piece at only €117. With the watch, one gets this basic owner's instruction manual, clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English and they detail the operation of the movement use, which is the Seiko NH35A automatic. One also gets this plastic guarantee card, and as usual the reverse isn't filled in. However, I'm pleased to report the watch is covered by the usual 12-month international guarantee. One also gets this plastic tag. And lastly, one also gets this branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth, irrespective of the price point of the piece. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Pagani Design PD-1692. The watch is clearly an homage to the Rolex Explorer, a watch I have previously reviewed. Similar proportions to the Explorer, we have a 40mm case diameter, we have a 49mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 11.7mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The oyster style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the flip lock clasp. The flip lock clasp is signed to a high standard with Pagani Design engraved, beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel body, which is brushed satin finish. Brushed satin finish on the top side and underside, which contrasts with the flawless mirror polishing to the flanks. I'll show you the interior. Solid milled 316L grade stainless steel. Matte blasted effect to the centre section of the body, which contrasts with the flawless mirror polishing to the exterior, the top side, underside and flanks of the clasp. The hinge pins are tight, and they've definitely improved the quality control and the tolerances on the hinge pins of the flip lock clasp. And we also have a 5mm EasyLink style extension, which deploys with a nice positive click, and it also clicks back into the body with a nice positive click. Again, they have improved the quality control, the tolerances and the finishing to the EasyLink style extension. The flip lock clasp snaps shut with a nice positive click, and the flip lock itself snaps shut with a nice positive click. No sharp edges, no burrs, no sharp corners, very well executed. With regards to the rest of the specification, we have a flat sapphire crystal. Now, the benefits of this flat sapphire crystal is that they have introduced clear AR coating on the underside. The PD-1692, both the Air King and this Explorer homage respectively, are the first two Pagani Design watches to use clear AR coating. They've also introduced clear AR coating to the 1733, which is the Milgauss homage, and I'm really pleased with this, and I hope Pagani Design will introduce AR coating throughout their collection. The dial is the classic Explorer dial layout with large applied 9, 6 and 3 Arabic numerals and also applied indices at the other hour marks. Perfect symmetry to the dial with the absence of a date complication. I like the dial layout, it's clearly legible and it does a very good job of being an homage to the Rolex Explorer. One detail I really like is the silver mirror polished applied shield. Pagani Design have made the correct decision by deleting the Pagani Design text logo and simply using this mirror polished silver shield. It looks more aesthetically pleasing. Now, I'm going to be critical of the text at 6 o'clock. If you look above automatic, you can see they have printed PT time in abhorrent font. And really, PT time is complete nonsense. It doesn't stand for anything. And I don't know why Pagani Design elected to print this on, because the fonts doesn't match the Arial font in capitals used for automatic and 20 bar/200 meters. It doesn't bear any relevance to this being an Explorer homage. Really, they should delete it. Now, Pagani Design do respond to criticism and feedback from collectors. For example, on the 1733, the Milgauss homage, Collectors were critical of them printing UGS on the dial, which stands for Upgrade Grand Series, and they deleted UGS, and they're now currently making V2 versions of the 1733 Milgauss Homage without the UGS on the dial. It will simply have the silver applied shield at 12 and automatic in text at 6, so much cleaner. I would like to see them do the same thing and produce a V2 version of this 1692 Explorer Homage, deleting PT time to clean up the dial. But having said that, the dial is very well executed. The applied indices and the silver applied Arabic numerals, which are infilled with Lume, are mirror finished to a high standard. The polishing to the indices is very good, and the 60-minute ticks in white contrasts very well with the black dial. One detail I really like about it is the use of a deep black glossy dial, which is an enamel finished dial, and it makes a refreshing change from other 1692 models which use either sunburst dials or matte dials respectively. The deep black glossy enamel dial is absolutely gorgeous. Now, because this has clear AR coating on the underside, although the dial is glossy rather than matte, it isn't as highly reflective as if this piece didn't have AR coating. So it works very well. The legibility is good. The silver applied indices and silver Arabic numerals contrast very well with the glossy dial, and the silver mirror polished Mercedes hands also contrast very well. So dial layout is good, quality of the dial execution is good, and I love the legibility and also the symmetry. With regards to the crown, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, coin edge finished, mirror polished domed cap, and it's also embossed with a Pagani design shield to a high standard. So let's test the screw down crown execution. The screw down crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters of water resistance, which is very strong specification. Absolutely silky smooth when one unscrews it. Now, just bear with me and I'll find the first position when unscrewing it. Right, so that's the time setting position. So in the first position, the NH35A is in the manual wind position, and one can manually wind it to top it up to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. Absolute pleasure to feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. It feels silky smooth. There's a very good interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. So, as this is an NH35A, it does have a phantom date setting position. In the first click position, it's the date setting position, and rotating the crown anti-clockwise, one can feel the quick set date clicking over. Personally, I would prefer if they use the NH38, which deletes the date complication, and it therefore deletes the first click position on the crown. Pulling it out to the second click position is the time setting position. And as you can see, the NH35A has hacking. I've now hacked the movement and stopped the second hand dead, so one can set the time precisely to the second. Firm resistance to the gearing, one can feel the friction of the 35A, but however, no backplay clockwise and anti-clockwise. Is a good, solid, reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. Pushing it back in's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. You can see the second hand begins to sweep around the dial once again, so I'll just test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. This is outstanding screw down crown execution. Absolute pleasure. It's something that Pagani Design do very well. They often have QC issues such as poor bezel execution and poor quality Lume, but however, one thing they get right on several models, the 1661, 1662 and 1644 for example, is excellent screw down crown execution, and the same applies to this 1692 Explorer Homage. The screw down crown feels silky smooth. It really isn't far off Tudor or Rolex quality in terms of the smoothness of the interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. 200 meters is also very strong specification. So I'll show you the case back. We have a solid 316L grade stainless steel case back, and they've elected to engrave it with their mountain logo, and also it's got these double ice picks and the Pagani Design shields, as you can see. So nicely mirror polished, matte bead-blasted effect background, mirror polished engraving. The circumference is also engraved with the specification and the reference number for the piece, and the circumference is also CNC lathe tool machined with concentric circles, and the very edge of it is mirror polished with milled slots. No sharp edges, no burrs, and it is very low profile. If I tilt the piece to the side elevation, you can see that it's a very low profile stainless steel caseback for a 200 meter water resistant piece. Normally I would expect the caseback to be more domed, like a bubble back caseback, alternatively thicker, because this is 200 meters water resistance rather than 100 meters. The solid end links are a good tight fit to the head of the piece, and the underside to the head of the piece is well machined, no sharp edges to the underside, to the flanks, and it's a very well executed caseback and head of the piece, and also the end links. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet, I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and as you'll know from my previous reviews, I like to size my bracelets loose, so that I can always fit an index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp at all times. This is the correct sizing method because it allows for wrist expansion in warmer weather or when one is active. So loose fit to the bracelet and clasp, it will fit up to an 8-inch wrist with no problems. Now, with regards to the proportions, 40mm head of the piece is perfectly balanced by the 20mm to 16mm taper on the oyster style bracelet. They've got the proportions correct, very similar to the Rolex Explorer, which this is an homage to. The lug-to-lug measurement is slightly long at 49mm, but it's very close to the sweet spot of 48mm, which is the perfect lug-to-lug measurement for a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. At 49 it's just 1mm longer than perfection, and I think it is acceptable. Now, one detail I really like about this is it's only 11.7mm thick. Very impressive for an NH35A automatic powered piece to be under 12mm. Anything under 13mm is acceptable because it will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff, so ideal for a daily wear piece. But to get an NH35A powered piece under 12mm at only 11.7 is incredibly impressive, and bear in mind it's not 100 meters water resistant, this is 200 meters. So the flat sapphire crystal is still thick enough to withstand 200 meters of pressure, and the flat stainless steel caseback is also thick enough to withstand 200 meters. So 11.7 really does impress me, and it's very unusual. I would expect this to be in excess of 12mm thick. The flat sapphire crystal really does benefit from the clear AR coating. As you can see, it works very well to reduce the reflection. One detail I really like about the flat sapphire crystal, if you look at the edge of it, I love the way it catches the light because it has a bevel on the edge, and that refracts the light and it catches it, as you can see, because it projects above the top edge of the mirror polished flat bezel. So absolutely gorgeous to look at, and it really is an outstanding homage to the Rolex Explorer. I think it's just the proportions are perfection personified. I really like the tape of the bracelet, 20 down to 16 really is perfect. Very comfortable piece to wear, it feels very balanced, it doesn't feel top heavy, and it's very low profile as I've discussed at 11.7. It's only 142 grams. Now usually I consider circa 150 grams to be comfortable, but also give a feeling of heft. It feels with wrist presence and also gives a quality feel. But under 150 grams really does enhance the comfort. So it's 148, it's well within the circa 150 gram sweet spots. Feels very well balanced. The comfort level is outstanding, the feel good factor is outstanding, and I'm delighted that it uses clear AR coating because that really does improve the legibility, as you can see. So very good looking piece, very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and it's just the proportions really are very good. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, the Lume used is disappointing. It's clearly blue Luminova rather than BGW9 Super Luminova. On the hands, it appears to glow brighter, but looking at the applied indices and also the applied Arabic numerals, the 9, 6 and 3, clearly they haven't applied the same number of layers as the Mercedes hands, because the Mercedes hands appear to be glowing brighter, particularly the hour hand. So disappointment. I would prefer to see Pagani Design upgrade to using BGW9 Super Luminova, even if that means upgrading the price point by $5 or $10, the wholesale price and the retail price respectively. It's something that collectors would happily pay the extra for to get BGW9 Super Luminova, because this is the one negative of the watch, the lack of BGW9 Super Luminova. Now, it's glowing reasonably brightly, and it will continue to glow for a reasonable length of time. It's the kind of performance one would expect with 2 to 3 layers of Lume. However, it's nothing like the performance of 5 to 6 layers of BGW9 Superluminova, which really is the best quality lume in the watchmaking industry. And as you can see, the Mercedes hands are still continuing to glow for a reasonable length of time, as are the applied indices. But however, the applied indices and the applied Arabic numerals will fade faster because they haven't got as many layers of Luminova applied. In terms of colour match, they've got the colour match correct between the applied indices and also the Mercedes hands, something they sometimes get incorrect. They sometimes use different colour Luminova. For example, they'll use green on the dial and blue on the hands, which clashes. So I'm pleased they've at least used the same colour blue Luminova, but really there's room for improvement, and this is the one disappointing aspect of the piece. Right, so let's discuss the movement used. You will all be familiar with the Seiko NH35A Automatic. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. It has 24 joules and it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand binding and hacking, which useful complications, 40-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable, and the stated accuracy of the NH35A is -20 to +40 seconds per day, so a rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that this one is well regulated and it's running consistently at +8 seconds per day. So +8 is well within the -20 to +40 stated accuracy, and it's very good for a NH35A. Anything between -10 to +10 is good for a 35A, and I think +8 is perfectly acceptable. So I like the NH35A, it's reliable, accurate, the build quality is good, the quality control, the materials and also the reliability. However, I would prefer to see them use the NH38 rather than the 35A, because as I've discussed, the 38 means the date complication is deleted, it doesn't have a date wheel, and therefore there wouldn't be the phantom date setting position in position 1 on the crown. That would remove the extra click. However, this is subjective for the majority of collectors. They don't mind the extra click, the phantom date setting position, and the 35A is perfectly reasonable. So I think they should consider using the 38, but the 35A does do the job. Right, so lastly I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So in the summer sale, the price point will be €117. I think that this is excellent quality and excellent value at €117, so I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. Really, the only negatives to this watch are the abhorrent PT time text printed on the dial, which should be deleted, and the only other negative to the watch is the weak quality blue Luminova, which I demonstrated in the Lume Test. Other than that, the watch is outstanding. The quality control, build quality, materials, finishing throughout are all excellent. Now, let's study the bracelet. The solid end links are a good tight fit to the case. The curved profile follows the profile of the lugs. The end links are very well machined. The bracelet does have some play in the screw pins, as one would expect, but it is acceptable. Beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel, as you can see. Flawless mirror polishing to the flanks, and I like the use of 1.6mm screw pins rather than push pins. Clasp is very well executed, very well finished, and they have tightened up the tolerances and the quality control versus other flip-block clasps on the 1661, 1662 and 1664 respectively. This 1692 clasp is better made. So it's a very good piece. I think for €117, it's the ultimate Explorer Homage. It cannot be beaten for that price point, and I really like the use of clear AR coating, which is a very strong specification. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Pagani Design PD-1692. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.